And good afternoon. Welcome to today's live English lesson with me, Richie, here on the AM Language YouTube channel. I hope all of you are doing well, and I'm sorry that I am late. I'll be honest with you. I really don't have a very good excuse to get. I don't have a good excuse today why I am late. I just am. I got distracted. So, if this is your first time, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you like and share the video as well. Tomorrow, I will be uploading a new video, so that's something to look forward to. And in today's lesson, we're going to look at essay writing, and we're going to look at linkers, nouns, adjectives, and how we're going to try and go about it. So let me know who's watching. And then we'll get into it. Time is, it's just gone 25 to 4. And we will, unfortunately, I'm going to have to end promptly today at 4:15. But we should be able to do a good amount between now and then. So yeah, essay writing. Now, this is going to be useful for you, whether you are, looking at general English, IELTS, business, you name it. This is going to be useful. Good afternoon, Arena F. So nice to see you here. Alejandro, you too as well. Buenos dias. Thank you for joining. Actually, no, if you are in Malta, buenas tarde. If you are in South America, I suppose if you're in Colombia, it might just be about turning to afternoon. So, buenas tarde, I suppose. So, essay writing. Let me give you a little example of what we're going to try and tackle today. We're not going to look at introductions or the middle or the end of set essays. It's just really trying to connect ideas, really, linkers, and what adjectives to use. And another thing is whether we need adjectives. Alejandra says that she's in Santiago and Buenos Dias. Okay. In which case, if you are in Chile, I'm guessing that's Santiago in Chile. In which case, yes, Buenos Dias. Thank you very much for joining all the way from Santiago. I have been to Santiago. Absolutely loved it. Really good fun. Yuli, good afternoon. And thank you very much for joining. Evelina, you too. Thank you for joining. So let's look at the following. Let's say we want to try and we're going to try and talk about two things that we're going to try and bring together in some sort of way. But we need to think of the right sort of linkers to make this happen. So I'm just going to put in the linkers that we're going to look at. Some we've looked at before, and then some might be new. Okay, so let's use 3 that we've used before on this channel, and let's go with 3 ones that we might not have used before. Okay. Let's go with, okay, so I've got that. Just bear with me 1 second. And 1 more. Yeah, let's go with this one. Okay, so these are the linkers that we're going to look at. We've got whilst, while, or whereas. These are three that we've looked at before, and we've also got opposed to, unlike, in contrast. Now, they all are very similar type of linkers. So we are going to be comparing at least two things. So I'm just going to give you some sentences so you can get the feel of what we're looking at here. The important thing to to remember is that when writing, we want to try and avoid repetition of certain words. So we might need to repeat the meaning, but we don't want to repeat the same word. So it's good to have multiple options. So let's go for it. So I'm just going to start off with a very simple sentence, really. Okay, so this is going to be example A. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. You're driving? Great. I'll make sure I do a little bit more talking. So far we've got my hair is brown whilst or while my sister's hair is blonde. You will notice here that, look, whilst is UK English, while is American English. And look at the structure. My hair is brown whilst my sister's hair is blonde. B, my hair is brown, whereas my sister has blonde hair. Now, in case you might be wondering, Richie, can I say, whereas my sister's hair is brown, sorry, blonde? Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Again, we're using, you're comparing two things that where there's a difference. And all of these linkers here are to do with when you're trying to compare two things that are related, but in some way slightly different. So that's what we're going for. Okay, now C. My hair is brown opposed to my sister's, which is blonde. Now, opposed to is definitely more formal. So I mean, if I'm comparing hair, I wouldn't necessarily go with opposed to, because it's a very, opposed to is quite formal. But again, it serves the purpose. This is another way of comparing two things that are related but are different in some sort of way. So, C, my hair is brown opposed to my sister's, which is blonde. I'm using which because which is referring to the hair, okay? Which is why I can use which. I'm not referring to the person where I would have to use who, but because I'm referring to the hair, I can use which. D. And my hair is brown, unlike my sister's, which is blonde. You'll see that now when I use the structure, my sister's, for example, when I use words like opposed, well, linkers like opposed to or unlike, I'm going with which after my sisters. Okay. And finally, in contrast. Oh, nope, not blonde, brown. Okay. This one I've used in contrast to my oh gosh, no, let me write that again. I've just realized what I've done. Actually, no, I'll there we go. In contrast to my blonde hair, that's what my oh sisters. I need to use sisters. I got it wrong. Again, third time lucky. Brown hair. In contrast to my brown hair, my sister has blonde hair. What you can see here is, in contrast, not to say you can't use in contrast mid sentence, but the safest way to use it is at the beginning of a sentence. In contrast to my brown hair, comma, my sister has blonde hair. If we wanted to use it mid sentence, we could say, if you want to use it mid sentence, we're going to have to use it like this. This is going to be F, actually. Let's put that in. I have brown hair, comma, which is in contrast to my sister who has blonde hair. Now, you might be wondering, wait a minute, Richie, why using who instead of which? Well, this is because I'm using who, because who in this case is referring to sister, not the hair. If when you're thinking of your pronoun, you need to think about, is your pronoun referring to the person or a part of them? Now, because in this case, I haven't gone with let's see, because I haven't gone with sisters apostrophe s, I'm not going to use which. So because I've used sister, this is why I've gone with who, because who is talking about sister, the person, not the hair. Okay. So as example, okay, so my sisters. So let me just show this again. Dot 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 dot. My sisters apostrophe s plus which is blonde. Okay. Okay. So this is referring to the hair. Okay. Dot 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 dot. My sister who has blonde hair. Okay. So in this case, the who is referring to my sister. So that's why we need to be a bit careful with our pronouns. If it's apostrophe s, we're more likely to go with which, because which is then referring to the hair. But if I haven't put the apostrophe s, we probably are going to have to go with who, because who is going to refer to the person. So these are what we need to look at over here at the moment. So all of these mean the same thing. We are using these linkers to compare two things that are related but different in some sort of way. Now, what do we need to think about when it comes to nouns and adjectives? Well, if we go through this, okay, the first thing we need to think about is when you use the noun, you need to think of your subject or your object. And that's going to be quite important. Okay, so that's something when you're using a noun, you need to think, okay, am I referring to my subject here? Am I referring to my object? So if we read, my hair is brown, brown being the adjective, whilst my sister's hair is blonde. Okay, so I've got two adjectives here, and I've got a couple of nouns. My noun obviously is hair. Hair is a noun. I've got hair twice, and my sister's. Well, this is another thing. Okay, so I'm using a possession element as well. My sister's hair. So it's all about making sure that what we are saying links. You always need to think about your subject, verb, object. That's always going to be the case. Um, and then we need to think carefully about the adjective. As you can see, we don't always need to end a sentence with a noun. We can end a sentence with the adjective. Okay, in this case. So let's now develop this a little bit. I am going to give you, because I want to make sure that we use these linkers properly. Okay, so just to remind you, these are the linkers that we are looking at. And we've just seen examples of how to use them. So I'm now going to write, I'm just going to write one sentence, and I want to see how you guys are going to write the others. So for each one, I'm going to tell you which linker we are going to try and use. So we'll go through this one at a time, just to make sure we get this correctly. If I throw too much at you too quickly, then it's going to be too difficult. So let's start off with the first one, okay? A. Let's go with okay, so this is A. We went with the red design, blank. The other team went with the blue one. So looking at this, now I'm going to tell you there are at least 3 possible answers that would fit quite nicely into this one. You could even go with 4, 5. Actually, you could technically go with most of them. One of them, if you wanted, you would have to add a little bit more. So let's see how you guys do this. I would like you to complete this sentence, and I would like to see how you guys use. I'm showing you at this moment in time where the gap is, and I would like you to complete the sentence with one of the options over here. If you think you can use 3, tell me which ones you think you can use. If you think you can use 4, 5, tell me. If you think you can use all 6, show me in the live chat section of how you think we could use this in this case. And we'll see what your answers are. Okay, so we're going to start off a little bit easy, and then we'll gradually make things a little bit more difficult in terms of completing it. At this moment in time, I just want to focus on making sure that we get the linkers right. While I wait for you, again, we can see how we're using adjectives and nouns. So red here is the adjective, design obviously is the noun. So you've got adjective, noun, linker. Adjective, noun, linker. Okay. The other team went with the blue one. Now, blue, again, is the adjective. One is something that you would learn maybe pre-intermediate level, maybe elementary as well, is that one in English can replace the noun that you have already used. So we know here that we are talking about a design. That is the only thing that we are talking about. So because it's very clear what we're talking about, and it's some kind of product, for instance, we can replace design with one. Okay. Again, we've got this adjective noun situation. Really and truly, the sentence, the 2 parts of the sentence actually repeat the structure. I mean, you could put a full stop, for example. We could say we went with the red one, full stop. New sentence. The other team went with the blue one. Okay, so this is something to remember. When you're adding a linker, it's because you are going to link two sentences that could be separate, and you're going to make them into one because it makes more sense. Why it also shows a more advanced level of writing, which is why linkers are so important. Now, writing about something that's the same is a little bit easy because you can use linkers like and, for example, or as well. Trying to compare two things that are a little bit different in some sort of way is going to be harder, which is why I've kind of concentrated on these type of linkers. So let's see what you guys come out with here. Remember, you've got the choice: whilst, while, whereas, opposed to, unlike, in contrast to. We went with the red design. The other team went with the blue one. So we need to think of what can go over there. You've got whilst, while, whereas, opposed to, unlike, in contrast to. So Evelina has gone with in contrast to. So in which case your sentence would say, we went with the red design in contrast. The other team went with in contrast to. Don't forget the two. In contrast to the other team. In contrast, the other team went with the blue one. Okay, we'll see about in contrast. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't quite work. We'll see. Yuli says while and whilst. Well, while and whilst, don't forget, while is the US English version, whilst is UK. Let's see. So we went with the red design whilst the other team went with the blue one. So that works. We went with the red design while the other team went with the blue one. Okay, so we can say definitely that while and whilst work quite nicely. I don't have to add anything. I don't have to take anything away. They both fit in quite nicely. So yes, Yuli, you are correct. I'll give you guys just maybe 20 more seconds. 20 more seconds, and then I'll tell you what the answers are. Okay. Okay, right. So I'll tell you what the answers are. A. Okay, so we could use while. Yeah, definitely. We can use whilst, of course. We went with the red design, whereas the other team went with the other. We can use whereas. We went with the other. We went with the red design, opposed to the other team. No, we can't use that because then we'd have to have who. That's going to be a problem. We went with the red design, unlike the other team. No, we're not going to be able to use that. And we're not going to be able to use in contrast either. We went with the red design in contrast to the other team. Okay, so here we have three answers. We went with the red design, whereas the other team went with the blue one, while the other team went with the blue one, whilst the other team went with the blue one. So for A, there are three potential answers. You can see that we don't need a we don't need the pronoun who over here. We don't need so we don't need that. So let's now look at the next one. E. Let's see what you go with. Okay, this is now B. Which of those options do you think goes quite nicely here with the incomplete sentence? We went with the red design, the other team who went with the blue one. So you can see here that the main difference between sentence A and sentence B is that we've included the pronoun who. Okay, now because we've introduced this, we now need to think. Okay, which linkers can we use? And these two examples alone are going to really show you how you can use 6 different linkers and to compare two things that are related but are different in some way. But in order to use 3, we need to use one structure. We need to use, in fact, both structures are very very simple. But how if we choose to use certain linkers, we need to make one slight change in our sentence, and it changes everything. Evelina says, okay, so you've gone for, we went with the red design while the other team who went with the blue one. We'll see if Evelina is correct. If you think she's correct, let me know. If you disagree with her, also let me know. Okay. And then at the end of this, I mean, even at the end of this first one, I hope that this will be quite clear just to see how one slight change of word might change the whole thing of what we're supposed to do. M. Carvalho, welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. You've also agreed with Evelina that it is while. We shall see if you are correct. I'm going to give you guys 10 more seconds. No, 20 more seconds. And then, yeah, we shall see. Okay, so let's see what the answers are. So let's go. So the correct answer here, you've got, can I use while? We went with the red design while the other team no, I can't use while, which means I can't use whilst. Can we use whereas? We went with the red design, whereas the other team who went, I can't use whereas. No, because of the who. You can see in sentence A, we can use while, whilst, and whereas, and there is no who in the sentence after the linker. This one, okay, so which ones can we use? We went with the red design opposed to the other team who went with the blue one. Okay, so I can use opposed to. Okay. We went with the red design, unlike the other team who went with the blue one. Unlike. Okay, so I can use unlike. Carvalho, whilst and whereas correct are? No, they're not going to be correct in this case. They're correct with sentence A, but they're not going to be correct in sentence B. We went with the red design in contrast to the other team who went with. So yes, I can use in contrast over here. So see the difference. Who changes the linkers that we can use. If there's no who, we can use where. So no who, okay, in this case, or, no pronoun after the linker, we can use whilst, whereas, and while. Okay. Who or another pronoun after the linker we use opposed to, unlike, and in contrast to. So that's the big difference. It's the pronoun. Let's go again. I'm now going to give you two sentences. Let's see how you guys do. A. Actually, let me just change this around because I want to use actual names. A and B. Okay, guys. So we've now gone through these linkers over here. Let's see if you guys can now get A and B correct. It's quite simple. For A, there are three possible answers. B, there are three possible answers. So let's see what you guys go with. We've worked through this now. We've now introduced names, but just because there are names, this doesn't mean the rule changes. Anne went with Apex, blank, James went with Warcraft. No pronoun who in this one. B, Anne went with Apex, blank, James, who went with Warcraft. Here you've got the who. So think of the rule. If you've got who after the linker, there are three linkers you can use. While in A, there is no who after the linker, and therefore we have to use three different linkers. Let's see what you guys come out with. This is going to, due to time, unfortunately, this is going to have to be the last one. But let's see what you guys come out with. Let's see what you go with. If you guys get this right, I'd be very pleased because it means this simple sort of structure is going to make a huge difference to your writing, and it's quite a simple structure to remember compared to other things that you might end up learning in English. Now, it does depend what your level is. If you're an intermediate, this can really help you. If you're upper intermediate, this is excellent. Now, if you can do this at pre-intermediate level, then you are going to do very well in your exam. Elementary, I would never expect someone at elementary to do this, but if someone at elementary were to do this, I would be very, very pleased. Pre-intermediate, again, I will not expect a pre-intermediate student to do this, but it doesn't mean a pre-intermediate student cannot do this. Pre-intermediates can do this. They just need to remember this simple rule when it comes to writing and using linkers. If any of you, by the way, if any of you who are watching are doing IELTS, make sure you know about this. So let's see. You've got three possible answers for A, three possible answers for B. So Evelina has said A and B. So A. Anne went with Apex, unlike James. B. Oh, wait a minute. Whilst. Okay, so Evelina, are you saying whilst goes with A or does whilst go with B? Let me know. Don't forget whilst. Oh, whilst. Okay, you just changed the spelling. Okay. Make sure you look through the examples, guys. The answers are in the live chat. You can see the answers. If you look at our previous one, you can see the answers there. Evelina says B is whilst. Okay, so you're saying B is whilst. Okay, and went with Apex, whilst James, who went. Okay, we'll see if you're right, Evelina. And thank you very much for engaging today. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's really important that you guys do write in the live chat. Okay, right. Let me give you the answer. Sorry, I know I didn't speak for about a minute there. I was just waiting for people to come in with their answers. But I'll give you the actual answers. So you know what? Actually, I was a bit distracted for a moment because I was thinking about something else. Okay, so let me give you the actual answer. Again, apologies, I didn't speak for about a minute. So let's go for it. So the answers. Now, A, like I said, guys, there is no who in this. So the answers over here are going to be whilst, while, and whereas. Remember, there is no who. If there's no who, it's whilst, while, or whereas. Okay. However, for B, because there is a who, we are left to use the following. These are the answers over here. We can use this. So really, really important, by the way. Okay, so yeah, I think that makes sense. So so remember B, Anna went with Apex whilst, whereas James went with Warcraft. If you're using whilst, while, or whereas, there's no who. So that's why you can use them. If you have a who, then you need to use and went with Apex, unlike, opposed to, in contrast to James, who went with Warcraft. Really important. So let me ask you this. If the sentence has blah, 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 Tom, who, what linker would I have to use before Tom? Yes, Evelina. But now let's see if you can get this final question. So if the sentence, not if the sentences, sorry, let me write this final question again. Okay, so final question. If the sentence has blah, 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 Tom, who, What linker would I have to use before Tom? Okay. Unlucky Evelina, unlucky Carvalho. Not to worry. Let's see what your answer is over here. So this is the last question. If the sentence has blank, Tom, who, what linker would I have to use before Tom? Would I use whilst, whereas, or whilst, whereas, or while? Or would I have to use opposed to, unlike, or in contrast to? So which one is it going to be? If that is, if that's the structure. So is it going to be A or B? If the sentence has Tom who, comma, Tom who, no, no. Evelina, look at it very carefully. No, if you've got who, remember, if you've got who, you don't want to use while. So if you have who, you have to use B. Okay, the option B. Let me make this absolutely clear. So if you have, for instance, James who, okay, the linker that comes before must be either opposed to, unlike, or in contrast to. Okay, now you understand. Excellent. Yes, yes, caviar. Okay, good. I think we've got there in the end. Okay, so remember, with if you've got who, then you're going to have to use ones like opposed to, unlike, or in contrast to. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for joining. Really appreciate it. A big thank you to Carvalho. A really big fat thank you to Evelina. Thank you for your contribution, and well done for contributing. It's good that you contribute, because if you get something right, I can see that you've got it right. If you get something wrong, it means I can see that you got it wrong, and therefore I can help you. It's so important to engage in the live chat. So well done to the two of you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. See you tomorrow as well, Evelina. Also, a big thank you to everyone else who was watching. Yuli, for example, Alida, thank you for listening while driving. Alejandra as well, and Irina F. Have a great evening. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye for now.